people can get in automatically anyway, so it's not like I have to wait so people can join in as we're going along and everything. Just so people know, we do record these sessions. We do that just so we can get stuff out onto YouTube. There's quite a lot of people that have asked tonight whether this is going to be on YouTube. Few people couldn't make it, and I think some of that is to do as well, Imogen, is that you are competing with the big C, aren't you, and stuff. So Christmas parties and all that kind of stuff. So two of our trustees have sent apologies because they couldn't make it because of Christmas parties. So, but yeah, but welcome everybody. My name's Scott Clayton. I'm the founder of Blue Tonic. I founded the charity with a group of people in 2020, and we're all about getting people out and about in, on, and around water, especially people that have got barriers to getting out and about by the water. I'm particularly looking forward to tonight's session because access is an issue that we're definitely going to focus on a little bit to our local blue spaces. And around me, we have got so many blue spaces that you're not even allowed near. A lot of old quarry lakes that people that have come out the side of the Trent, they fill up. There's some lovely lakes that I swim in that Alan White used to, well, still does swim in. They're called spring lakes. And you have access to paid access to those now. They used to be places where people swam. But all these similar lakes around here, and there's probably like around 50, 60 of them. They're not, there's no access for anybody, and they're there and they're beautiful. And I find it incredibly frustrating. So just in terms of just finishing off the stuff around the charity, everything we do is around the 5 ways of wellbeing, and included in this tonight. So we connect people, we create learning opportunities, we try and give something back and get other people giving something back. We work on people getting out into nature and being present while they're there, and we also try and get people to be active as well. And they're the 5 ways of wellbeing, basically, which are a public health driven thing, and basically the charity just adds water to those. That's the simplest the charity can be, really. And it was really nice to get a wide remit. So other than doing these kind of chats, and I don't know if people have seen Awaken Your Blue Mind, if you've got your camera on and you've heard of Awaken Your Blue Mind or you're taking part, it'd be great to see you wave right now. But as well as doing that, we've got a choir called the Under the Bridge Choir, which is a group of men that sing under bridges to raise awareness about mental health and well-being. And that's been featured on the BBC and won the ITV People's Award locally. And we also do something called Swim Safe, which is not about, I like it. And Imogen, you've passed comment on it before, so I don't mind. But for me, what Swim Safe is, it is about talking to kids and having conversations about where they can swim safe, but it's also getting them in the water and learning to survive in the water, rather than a lot of the stuff around swim safety is people going into schools and frightening kids away from the water. Does that make sense? It's a Swim England thing. And the way we deliver it is we also build in the blue mind. So we work with parents about saying, if you're by the water and you're spending time by the water, it's incredibly good for your mental health and well-being. So we talk about that, and we get families thinking about having a better relationship with water and getting out and about in blue spaces, be it walking, swimming, whatever. Okay, so for tonight, how the sessions work is that we'll be listening to Imogen talk, first of all, probably for about half an hour, 40 minutes or so, just about a little bit about her life and how she's ended up doing some of the great work that she's doing. And also a focus on the access element of what Imogen does for the Outdoor Swimming Society. Then we do break, and the reason we do that is we do like to, well, we put people into breakout rooms. We might just do it as one group today. I don't know. No, we've got enough to do. No, we've got enough to have smaller ones. And in those sessions, sometimes people are a bit like, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to network? But we've had some incredible ideas come out for the charity from people just networking with each other and talking about this evening or anything else that springs to mind about the kind of thing the charity is trying to do. So please, if you can, join in with those sessions, and pop your cameras on and meet some of the people that are here. Anyone that's here tonight, if you could just pop into the chat where you're from. Sometimes we get the odd person from America and Israel, and I think we had Turkmenistan at one point as well in one of our chats. So it's nice to know where people are from. And yeah, after that, we'll open questions up. After we've done the networking bit, we come back together and we'll open some questions up for Imogen from the floor, basically. And then we'll close and we'll talk a little bit about who's coming next on our chats and things like that. Okay, so let's start then initially. So first of all, I mean, we asked this to every guest, really, is just where were you born? Where did you grow up? What was your relationship to water? When did you learn to swim? Those kind of early memories and things about the water, and was it special to you and all those kind of things.
Yeah, okay. I grew up in rural East Suffolk in the 60s, 70s. And my mum was a very keen swimmer. I mean, she didn't do a great deal of swimming, but she wanted to, but she was very keen on it. And she actually taught me to swim at the sea in Sizewell. Sizewell is on the East Coast. It's always, it's generally very calm there. Anyway, she did side stroke, was her favourite stroke. And that's a great stroke for taking your kids because the child can hang on to you and you can still swim. That's the point of it, really. But it's a lovely way to learn to swim with my mum. And later on, I was actually at school not far from the seaside. So we used to go off in, after school or whatever, just over the fields. But when I was really young, we had a river, quite a small river, just down the end of the village. And we just go down there, cycle down in our swimsuits and just get in the water and just swim between water lilies and water crowfoot, and there's all sorts of wildlife. It's absolutely wonderful. We used to make skirts out of water crowfoot. So I know some people, a lot of swimmers don't like weeds, what we call weeds, but actually, they're beautiful. Anyway, so that's how I started, really. And then, yeah, I grew up and left for London, and things changed.
Yeah. So were you high flying in London at that time, and did you have a period where you were a bit away from the water, or?
I wasn't exactly high flying, no, but I was in London for 35, 40 years. And I mean, I lived near the canal and the River Lee at different times, King's Cross, Hackney and so on. But yeah, I didn't do much in the way of swimming, really. I can't explain why, but anyway, there's no point dwelling on what times you missed.
Yeah.
As I was there, as time went on, I became more and more keen to get back to the countryside. So I did move to Norfolk.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And then, so when you came back to the water, there was a book that inspired it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Roger Deakins' Waterlog. That was very great inspiration for me and lots of other people, I think. I actually coincided, had some extra time off work and did a trip around Scotland camper van. And I stayed near a lot of lakes, but I hadn't yet got the nerve up until right towards the end of the trip. And I did have a swim in Loch Lomond and another loch. And then I came back and I thought, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get into it. So I read Roger Deakin. I read all about, his adventures. And I thought, right, we're going to go for it. And so I persuaded a friend to come with me. And we swam in a very cold river in Norfolk in September. And it was so cold. It was absolutely beautiful and wonderful. And there was loads of kids jumping off the bridge and having a wonderful time. But I didn't really understand about cold then. And we had a lovely time, lovely sunny day. But then we sat around, watching the kids and whatever. It got really cold. So I quickly learned that's not the thing to do, get back on the bike and have another cycle or something, warm up. So I had to learn all sorts of things. And in those early days, I mean, it's 2012. It's just looking back a few years, we just didn't have the swim groups. I mean, there was the big outdoor swimming group, but, nobody local. And there's no sort of way of meeting people easily. And so trying to persuade people to come just wasn't going to work. So basically I thought, right, I'll swim on my own, go walking on my own. I may as well swim on my own. And I thought about safety, and that was really sensible. But actually it was quite an adventure, checking out all these places. And look back, really.
Yeah. I find it, my journey involved Scotland was a big part of me coming back to the water, and I swam in Loch Lomond as well. But it was a race swim. And I always remember Kerry-Ann Payne was the guest speaker, and she shocked us because the one guy that was with me who was quite into competing was like, "Any tips for the race?" She was just like, "Yeah, why don't you take your goggles off and bob around when you get halfway around and not race, because you're swimming in one of the most beautiful places in the world, and if you're not careful, you just miss it, you know." I'm interested with Scotland, like, because of the access there, and swimming becomes incredibly more dangerous the further south you get, doesn't it, somehow? But did that you coming back and Scotland being involved, did that imprint anything in terms of the access and things like that, or?
I don't think I really realised in those days how difficult access was. It didn't take long, but I don't think I thought about it. No, not in those terms. It's later on I realised. I mean, I was camping as well, so my camper van, and I appreciated that you could camp next to these lakes, which technically you're not supposed to do in England. So I appreciated the difference with that. Yeah, no, that was later.
All right, cool. So rivers seem to be your favourite swims. And you set yourself a challenge at 60, was that right?
Yeah. I'd done another swim trek back in 2016 when I followed the route of the A12 and sort of family significance. I did 30 odd swims in 3 days, traveling along this route. Then, yes, I decided to. I mean, I knew I'd be busy in the subsequent years, so I thought, well, I'll make the most of this summer. And for each of the 6 months in the middle of summer, the 6 April to October or something, I went to a different county each month, and I spent about 4 days traveling around, going to as many places as I could fit in, and also try and meet other people at. So it wasn't everywhere, but I tried to pick places that seemed, and obviously I asked the local people in areas I didn't know so well. And yeah, it was wonderful. It wasn't just rivers. There was a lot of rivers. There's a lot of lakes, a lot of old sand quarries or brick lakes, a few lidos and 1 or 2 sea swims. But yeah, each county had very different characteristics. And I didn't go quite where you live, but I went into the Midlands, Bedfordshire, Northamptonshire, and round there, which is, if I can digress a bit, I was really struck by you talking about the 50 or so ex-gravel pits or similar in your area. And we've got a lot in Norfolk, and I'm sure they're in a lot of other parts of the country, and where they've extracted gravel or sand or something, and then they've become pits. And I feel really strongly that we should have access to them. And actually, I think we should claim that access to them. I mean, some of you probably physically can't, and there might be, very entrenched fishing or something going on there or something like that. But I mean, people do in a lot of places. And yeah, I think we need to reclaim them. Interestingly, a lot of them used to be common land, and then it sort of got dug up for gravel, and then it sort of went into some kind of private ownership, or if it isn't private, it still belongs to the quarry or something. So we've actually been thrown out of them in the first place, you could say. But anyway, maybe we'll come back to that.
No, I want to come back to that, especially the point on fishing as well. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, one thing I'm interested about the rivers is I know that you prefer rivers to the sea, which, like me growing up by the sea, I was convinced sort of I got myself into a bit, you can't get an experience of feeling like you've been to the seaside inland. And it wasn't until I swam in rivers and lakes that I realized you could. And now I really like the fresh water. And to me, there's something even more relaxing about fresh water than seawater, and I think it's to do with it's a fresh water source. So if your brain's almost like, I can survive if I've found a fresh water source, if you take it back to when we were hunters and gatherers. Do you get what I mean? But yeah, sorry, I get a sense that you prefer the river swims to the sea swims.
Oh, yes, I prefer inland. I mean, I don't live a terribly long way from the sea, but it's far enough to be a bit of a trek. And the thing about the sea, and this sounds negative, I do love the sea when I go. I haven't been at all this year, or
Yeah.
not once, which is strange, but is that you go there, you drive an hour or whatever it is, and then you get there and it's too rough to swim. I mean, I know you can look it up on apps and things, but I know my local rivers and lakes, and they're there, and I mean, rivers are fascinating because they change so much. I mean, perhaps the sea does as well, but they change very dramatic. I mean, at the moment they're actually unswimmable, because they're so flooded. But they do change throughout the year. I mean, lakes are different again, but yes, I'm not talking about the sea really, because inland. I mean, access to the sea is not an issue. You can go to the sea, nobody ever stops you.
No.
It's an interesting contrast. As soon as you come south, as you say, and also inland, people start getting, all sorts of barriers start coming up.
Yeah, exactly. And it is always strange, isn't it, when you look at that and you think, well, the sea's a far more dangerous body than a flat lake of water that's maybe, 12 feet deep or something. Okay, so and then when did you start getting involved with the Outdoor Swimming Society, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Actually, I don't know exactly when, because I tried to work it out. I think it's about 6 or 7 years. I think it's kind of a gradual thing, really. I just did my own swimming, and then I started realizing there were issues and so on, and then just gradually got involved. But I think I can't remember how the timing things went, but I do remember. I mean, I remember seeing what the Inland Access Group did, and talking with other different campaigners around the country. And one thing that particularly inspired me is in Sheffield, Owen Heyman.
Yeah.
If you could persuade him to come on, he's very busy. But he what he's done there, I mean, obviously with other people as well, but he kick-started it. He moved from somewhere else into the Sheffield area. He used to be near the sea, and he moved into the Sheffield area, and he didn't have anywhere to swim. He was a very keen swimmer, outdoor swimmer. And they said, well, what about all these reservoirs? It used to be called the Sheffield Lakeland. Let's go and swim in them. So what he did, which is so inspiring, is he decided to empower other people to do that by giving them information about where to go, how to do it safely, and what their rights or otherwise, what trespass meant, what might possibly happen to them, which is basically nothing. And although be aware, that there is this kickback potentially. And most importantly is setting up a big group, or it became a big group that brought people together and gave them confidence and allowed them to feel, they could go with others. And as a result, people in their tens of thousands now swim in those reservoirs, from nobody to tens of thousands. And, that's become a way in which people have, well, empowered is, I suppose, a bit of a trendy word, but it is what it is. People feel they can do it. It gives them permission, so to speak, to do it, and that's what they do. And the water companies there just literally can't stop them. And the same would be true elsewhere.
Yeah, I have spoken to Owen. Yes, it's Soup the Swimmers, isn't it? Chef, is it? Yeah, we had a really lovely conversation. He did say he was incredibly busy, so I always respect that when people say that. But I'd love him to come on. But one story he did tell me, which always resonates, is he got, I think it was at the university where the lake is, where lots of people swim in Sheffield now. He described the first day he got in there, and everyone was just doing their own thing, and he just suddenly just like broke the social norm and walked into this body of water and started swimming. He said he could hear people stop talking. And I just thought it was a wonderful story, and it is that I'm big on community building, and there's like some videos online of one's about a guy dancing. It's like a TED talk. People might have seen it, and it's a guy that stands up and starts dancing, and everyone looks at him like an idiot. And by the end of it, everybody's up dancing with him. It's that kind of thing that you've got to do. You've got to put yourself out there, haven't you? So, and he sounds like an incredible person for doing that.
And we've all followed him, really. I mean, lots of other groups have taken the same approach. Not all,
Yeah.
but they may have, obviously, people have different local circumstances in the local swim groups, but a lot of people have taken inspiration from that as a way forward. And it's to do with giving ourselves permission to do these things with the help of others, So, yeah, I think it's really powerful. So, yeah, that was an early... I forgot what the question was, but it's getting involved with the Outdoor Swimming Society. So yeah, he was one of the people, and there's lots of other examples as well. But that's been a starting point, really.
Well, we're on now. I know we've touched on it already, but it'd be great to hear some more about the work you do around access, and stuff like that. So please just let us know.
Well, I joined in with the Inland Access group. There's a little team, and I mean, people have gone. I'm just one of the newer ones, basically. There's Robert Aspie and some others, and Pam, who's here today. She was one of the key people, and basically, what they do, what we do is we have a big Facebook group which people can come on just to discuss access. So generally people share experiences and information about what's happened in their area, what their issue is with the landowner, or unfortunately it's not all negative, but a lot of it is negative. We used to swim here and we were very happy swimming here, and then somebody came and put up a fence or something, or some nasty sign saying don't swim or something like that. So we basically share information to help people to help them deal with it. And there's been some very, more high profile campaigns, like there was Grunchester Meadows, we helped with that. And in Cheshire, Pickmere Lake, which was a lake where people happily swam and did other things, sudden proposal for a fence, amazing campaign. A group of people there just stood by the park gate every day for months and stopped the contractors coming in to do this work, and talked to everybody who came and did videos and all sorts. Anyway, so we assisted with sort of background information. Basically, we spend a lot of time doing the research into the legalities and all that, and compile this experience and enable people to deal with it. I mean, I suppose, there are some sort of key bits of advice. I mean, the first one is don't go and ask permission to swim, go and swim, and carry on swimming, even if there's a threat. But at the same time, I mean, go and do it boldly, but at the same time being responsible and just, checking you're not harming the wildlife or whatever it might be. And obviously you're being safe and that sort of thing. And so the whole purpose of it all is to, again, it's building on what Owen's done, is enabling people to go swimming. And also taking it a bit further, and prior to me joining them, Robert and Chris had written a very good guide, which has been updated and it's still very, very, very useful. It's written for landowners. It's useful for other people to see the sort of arguments and issues. And it's about establishing bathing places, as it's named. And it explains the law for landowners and how it can work, how it can be safe and all that sort of thing. And so that's a really good resource, and we're building up other resources. So that's the Inland Access group. And then with the Outdoor Swimming Society generally, I also help with putting together some website pieces which on access issues. So we've got quite a nice body of those come up now. And now the Outdoor Swimming Society itself is really forging forward on what they're calling the right to swim, not on their own, but with others as well. It's always been a thing of the Outdoor Swimming Society ever since its founding, but it's become more and more of a important factor in it all, because you want to go and enjoy swimming. You can't go and enjoy swimming if either you literally can't, or if it's made difficult for you. And it's more difficult for some people than others. Some people find it much more scary or alarming to swim when they know people will stare at them and say, "What are you doing?" or they'll get off my land, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So yes, that's really building as a movement, I'd say, at the moment.
Yeah. And what are the, like the mass trespass events? What they're like? Can you just describe what it's been like, and the atmosphere and the will of the people?
Well, there's been I don't know how many there's been actually, but there's been 3 years running going to Kinder Reservoir.
Yeah.
The weekend of the Kinder Trespass celebrations, because obviously that's a big deal for access generally, and they always have a weekend of events there. And then so the first year was in COVID, and it was all very carefully. I mean, I should say that we didn't advertise it as organising it. It was organised and people joined together. And the first one, they had to be very careful with the numbers because of COVID. So it wasn't very mass. It was a mini mass. 3 groups of 6, if you remember groups of 6. The following year, though, people shared the word about coming together at the same time on the same place at the Kinder Reservoir, and about 500 people turned up.
Wow.
400 to 500, we didn't obviously count them exactly, but it was 400 to 500 people. And I mean, it's absolutely amazing. There's on the Outdoor Swimming Society website, there's articles about it. And then this year, again, it was a similar size, and there's actually a really wonderful short film, about 3.5 minutes, showing that. So, and the other thing that happened, so they're absolutely fantastic. They're a really good way. I mean, empowerment, times 10, times 100, really. It's just, or times 500, I suppose, to be exact. It's absolutely fantastic, and it just really gives confidence to people to feel they're part of a movement. It makes you really feel. And the other thing that happened on the same day, most of the years, is that people did their own local one. So if they've got an issue or they just wanted to, there's one in Swinstead, across the hills somewhere up there. Don't know exactly where. So they did a big one. They did a big one for their issue in their place, and. So no, they can be a really good way, and publicity, obviously it gets publicity for the issues.
I just in case we are skirting over this a little bit, I suppose it's worth shedding, if you can, shed some light on what the Kinder Trespass did originally and how we're trying to emulate that. Does that make sense? What you guys are trying to support and sort of emulate that kind of movement?
Yeah. So the Kinder Trespass originally was in 1932, wasn't it? I think. Put very simply, a lot of workers in the mills and the towns, hard work, or mines and so on, hard-working people desperately needed to get out into the countryside to renew their batteries on a weekend. But there's so many places people couldn't walk, and they would go and walk, and gamekeepers would say, "Get off my land," or whatever. So they just decided to band together and resist this, and that's what they did. And they got. I'm sorry, I'm a bit shaky on the details of the history, to be honest. I'm a bit embarrassed to say. Sorry.
No, I think it's more than I know.
Because I've been to one of 2 or 3 of the wonderful Hayfield, the village next to Kinder, where they have a whole weekend of celebrating the whole thing. But it's fascinating there, because even the local school children do stories and pictures about it, and they exhibit in their village hall. It's a real thing. So it was really important, because it showed that when you stand up to this kind of resistance to your access, you win the right to access. And it led to, it took a long time, mind you, it led to legislation that made a national park and made more access there. And it's the root of some of the access rights we have. They're limited, but they're considerably better than people had before.
Yeah.
So it's a really important thing. So for us to do a swim trespass there, we're basically move it on a bit. We've kind of got, obviously the land access is far from as good as it could be, but it's much better if you stay on the land than if you try and get in the water. Your access problems are greater. So it's moving it on to making that point. We also need to get the benefits and enjoy getting in the water.
And I remember speaking to Owen, and he was a bit like, I am just sick of people saying, let's write letters and let's lobby here and let's do this and let's do that. He was a bit like, I'm just sick of that. I want to actually do something that feels like it's tangible, it's leading an example, and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, I've got a lot of sympathy for that now. I mean, I am one of the letter writers myself, but I'm doing me and some people in Norfolk are doing a campaign. We're going to do it on a sustained basis every single month. Trespass at this, trespass. We get in the water at this pair of lakes in West Norfolk, where, like in many of these places, access to the water is discouraged. Excuse me. Despite them being absolutely perfect, and they're in a country park where you can get access to the land. So we're doing a little trespass every month. I don't know if it'll get bigger in the summer. Lots of people swim there in the summer. It's quite small at the moment in the winter, as you might imagine. But we are writing letters. But we write a letter to the landowner and say, look, here's our arguments. We'd like to have a chat with you, and they say no. Well, it was a bit longer than that, their reply. But so the letters on their own don't get anywhere. And yes, you can do letters. And I think if you're doing a campaign somewhere, I think the thing to do is it is a trespass. It's technically a trespass, which people might find a bit scary. But basically, if somebody doesn't want you to get in the water, technically that's a trespass. But trespass, I think it's important to point out to people who might be thinking about this for themselves, is trespass is a civil matter. It's not illegal. It's not in any way illegal. It's not a matter for the police. It's something a landowner can do virtually nothing about, because they would have to literally take you to court. They have to know who you are in the first place. You might not, you have to tell them your name. They know who I am now, but I lost my train of thought there. But basically, yes, but do that. Do your swimming, go swimming, keep swimming, whatever it might be. If you've already been swimming and then they're trying to stop you, but just carry on swimming and build up the numbers. People have got to feel comfortable with it, and they've got to maybe just know a bit about safety, just keep themselves safe and swim safely, and then just keep doing it. And once the numbers build up, the landowner, they already can't stop you, but they begin to recognize. So Owen's example in the Sheffield reservoirs, which are run by Yorkshire Water have now recognized, they cannot deny the fact that tens of thousands of people are swimming in their reservoirs. They don't like it and they still want them to stop, but they reached out to us, actually, the Inland Access Group, and they reached out to us to ask to talk to us, and a group of us have been talking to them off and on over a couple of years now. We don't actually get very far, but at least a dialogue has started. So the letter writing and the dialogue is a useful and important thing, but it shouldn't be first. You definitely shouldn't start asking first. You get your swimming underway. Bear in mind being responsible for the wildlife, for your own safety and that sort of thing, but just get the swimming underway and then say to them, look, we are swimming here. We've been swimming here every month. We've been swimming here every day. You know, it's happening. It's no point you saying it doesn't happen and it can't happen. It is happening. There are hundreds or thousands or whatever numbers there are. So why don't you talk to us about at least recognizing it? Let's get rid of these crazy signs that say it's freezing cold or something when it obviously isn't, that sort of thing. So, you know, it's worth doing the letters, it's worth doing the talking, but do your swimming first as a priority.
There's a lot. It's different pronged attack, isn't it, and stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that springs to mind for me is you know, the up in Yorkshire, I want to say near Yeardon, or you know, the section of river that they created up there for bathing. I remember the Wild Women. There's a lady that does the Wild Women's podcast. She's up in Scotland, but she interviews all these different characters, and she interviews somebody up there. There's a guy, a politician called John Grogan. Don't know if you've heard of him, but he actually led. He was actually really responsible for getting the access, which I was quite shocked by. Like, normally politicians keep away. What I'm finding is that they keep away from stuff like this. I don't know if you found people like that are willing to help and stuff.
Well, he didn't get access. They already had access. It was a well-used and established place. The only thing that happened is they got a designation for bathing water quality.
Okay, yeah.
So it didn't make any difference to the access. I mean, when those campaigns happen, they can have pros or cons for access, but that's a whole different subject. I mean, yes, I mean, MPs, you're absolutely right, though. If you can get MPs on side, they're not, you know, they're not all anti in any way. I mean, there are swimming MPs, and there was, I don't think it's very active now, but there's a parliamentary, it's called APPG, which stands for something or another. It's a parliamentary group that was on swimming and outdoor swimming, and there were some really good MPs in that. But I think COVID sort of got in the way for a while. So, I mean, you're right, though, but when you're talking about these things, you try and talk to your local MP, try and talk to your local councillors or whatever. And yes, nationally, definitely try and do it. I think one thing to bear in mind if you're campaigning for access is that quite a high percentage of the population, and obviously that includes politicians and safety organisations, local, everybody, all the population, a high proportion of the population, unfortunately, do not currently understand outdoor swimming. They don't understand it at all. They've heard a lot over several decades about it's terribly dangerous and it's whatever other reasons they don't want people to do it. People don't want people to do it. That's what they've heard, and they don't know any better because they haven't personally discovered it, and they perhaps don't know many people yet who've done it. I think the numbers are going down of those people who don't understand it. However, they are quite a high proportion. So you often get the misunderstandings about safety and other aspects of swimming from those people in authority or as MPs. So you're not going to necessarily get their support. Obviously, they have to see a purpose for them to get involved as well. But yeah, by all means, try. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, what do you see in terms of the future? Does it look brighter? Yeah. What's the kind of direction of travel? What does it feel like at the moment?
Well, I think I mean, you could get negative because you hear a lot of anti-swimming stuff, but you know, people worry about safety, liability, impact, and so on. But I think the number of people now who want to go outdoor swimming is growing and growing and growing. It doesn't seem to stop growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. And there's more and more people. And people are also becoming more aware of the issues, I think, swimmers amongst the swimming community, they're becoming aware of it as well. So, you know, all sorts of aspects of access as well. It's not just, can I get past that fence that somebody's put up or that nasty notice, or can, you know, is it disabled? Is there disabled access? Can I get into the water anyway, you know? And things are beginning to move, and there are good examples, you know, of landowners and you know, people who have access to the river putting in steps and handrails and things. So and being welcoming. So it is happening. There are examples, but I think it is definitely moving in the right direction. And this year has actually, for me, and I think other people have said the same, has felt very much more in that direction, almost towards a tipping point, really. The demand is so overwhelming. Perhaps we've got lots more people who got involved with swimming and other outdoor activities during COVID, but in some ways it was quite a frenetic time, and obviously there's all sorts of other aspects to the time, wasn't there? But it's almost past, and so people are now, they've appreciated and understood the benefits of swimming. They want to do it, and they're saying, well, why can't I do it? I want to do it, you know. So the pressure is there very strongly, I think, and then there's you know, we've already seen over a number of years now, actually, some of the national safety organisations, their attitude has definitely improved. They're very much not saying, don't go swimming. They're saying, if you're going swimming, do this sensible thing to stay safe. There's also the other really good thing that's happening is that a whole range of outdoor organisations are getting together. And only a couple of days ago, they launched something called Outdoors for All, which is about 36 different organisations, all sorts of outdoor sports, and also the industries that do sports as well. So it's not just the recreation people themselves, big wide range of people, and the wildlife trusts and all sorts of people. And they've launched this Outdoors for All manifesto, which is calling for all the things that I think we'd all love to see, which is access to land, access to water for everybody. I think the movement is there. I mean, what exactly a future Labour government would do is not quite clear, because at one point they were saying, yes, we would bring in really good, strong rights like in Scotland, which is what we really need. And then they seem to go back on that. We don't know. There is time to continue campaigning to get across that message that we, you know, I mean, I haven't even said anything about the blue, you know, the blue aspects of it, because we already know that, don't we, here in this group? So we already know why we want to swim. It's for the benefits, it's for the enjoyment, it's for all those reasons. And I think the thing I would say is that we can do it. You know, I think we can all be part of that movement. So we might just be people who love swimming, you know, but that's fine. Just carry on loving swimming. That's fine. Do that. But, you know, if you want to, if you could become aware of access issues in your area, you know, be part of a swim group, raise the issues with the inland access group, perhaps, you know, we could maybe help. You know, just look out for issues and get involved, or just carry on swimming, you know, whatever suits you. It's up to you. But and be aware as well of how widespread the benefits can be, and what a wide element of the community, the wider community, would want to swim if they knew it wasn't scary or something, or if they didn't have so many barriers against it. And it's all different types of swimmers can be part of this movement, not just like serious, sensible ones that race for miles. You know, everybody can be part of it. All the kids who go in the summer, all the families who go in, all the youth who, you know, do stuff in the summer. everyone. So yeah, be part of it really, and it can be unstoppable movement, I'd say.
Wicked. Well, I think it feels like a really natural time to pause now. That was wonderful so far. So yeah, we're going to create two breakout rooms. I don't know if people have noticed, but I'm a little bit poorly. I've been quite ill the last couple of days. So I'm just going to take a few minutes just to say goodnight to my daughter. But I am going to pop back into the rooms because there's people here that I do want to say hello to, particularly Shauna, because it was lovely that Shauna was said to me 2 years ago, I think it was, you must get Imogen on here at some point. Because Shauna was one of our previous guests, everybody, by the way. So yeah, I'm going to open the rooms now. Please do, if you can, pop your microphones on, say a quick hello. If you're going off to make a drink, just let people know you're doing that. But it's wonderful if you just chat to each other, meet people. We've got Richard, who's part of the choir, but he's actually in Holland, so it feels like we've got someone from Holland in here, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, please do network with each other, talk to each other about Blue Spaces and the amazing stuff and Access if that's inspired you as well. I'll do that. I'll open the rooms now. Say goodnight to my daughter, and I'll come and see you guys in the rooms in a little bit. Right, welcome back, everybody. Sound like we're having some wonderful chats in there. Especially nice to hear some exchange in one of the rooms about things that could help people who have got projects and things like that. So it's always nice. That's the kind of thing that we want to happen. Just lovely conversations in both rooms that I went into. So yeah, cool. So yeah, we'll have another got around half an hour, probably 25 minutes, just to have some more questions with Imogen. Please, because of the numbers, it's fine for us to unmute and ask questions just directly to Imogen. That'll be fine in here. And then after that, I'll do a little bit of a summary and tell you guys about what's going next. And then when we close the chat, as people leave, if I can just have a quick word with you, Imogen, just to say thank you when people have gone. And Rachel, if you've got time, I've got something I want to run past you if you've got time. Yeah, I think you'll be interested. So yeah. Cool. So yeah, has anyone got any more questions for Imogen? It's always a brief silence and then we don't stop people.
Imogen, are you almost rent an activist? Can people get you to come somewhere where they're having troubles, or is it that you are providing the background information for them to do it themselves? How does that work?
Well, I wouldn't sort of come out as on a sort of charger, and sort of sort out all your problems, but I and the other members of the Inland Access team and group would have. I mean, what you can do is get in touch. You can either do it through the email to, well, I can't remember it now, but I'll tell you in a minute. Or you can go join the Inland Access group Outdoor Swimming Society, which is on Facebook, and raise your question there. Or you could message us if you prefer not to. But it's useful if you can to put your question in there or your issue into the group, because that's a way of getting a variety of experiences from people. Somebody may well have had the similar issue to you and might have some good advice and support. And then it sort of depends on the situation, what the issue is. And, as I say, I think advice and information would be the first thing. But is there, could we maybe, do you want to have a big petition or something? Or do you want, I don't know, it depends really. So it's drawing on all that experience and helping people with their specific issue. That's how we work really. And it seems to work really well. So yeah, do get in touch.
I'm just wondering whether it would be helpful, obviously one of my hobbies is making videos, whether it would be helpful to be able to lend a little bit of that platform to, I don't know, to attend one or something and speak to people about the how they're going about it. I don't know whether that would be helpful at all. I'm always kind of looking at different topics to make videos on, and this would seem to be a really valuable one, with so many people trying to get in the water, but not necessarily having obvious access like we do by the seaside, whether that might be of use. I'll maybe contact the group separately just to see if there's any help I can lend there on that front.
I didn't catch who raised the question just now.
It was me, Rachel Andrews.
Oh, who was it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. I mean, not the one about the video. I mean, the one about the local being a. Oh, that was you. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, it was same question, same person.
Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah. Video on the subject would be good. Yes. I mean, have you got a specific issue in mind without necessarily saying it now? But that's.
No. Because I just get in wherever I just if I see the water, I'll go and get in it. But I'm thinking where people might be feeling slightly nervous about it, or if there's, in order to try to help people to empower themselves, which is mostly what my channel is about.
I think that would be great. Yes, I think it's
then I would think it would be good.
I think it's building on some of the things into that you've already got out there, into Rachel. Because I always remember the videos where you say, I'm sure it was one of them, or maybe you said it to me and it's not a video, but if you're swimming down somewhere and you've planned a route, you always talk to a fisherman before they get a chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
You're always like,
go on the offensive.
Nice to maybe go into a bit more of like what your actual your rights are and all that kind of stuff, and for people to be clued up on that.
Yeah, and it would be good to get people on who actually know that. Whereas I just go for it and just see what happens. Mostly nothing does.
Let's have a chat about it, Rachel, because we've got a lot of that material that you could then apply to a situation that would work well. It sounds like a way to, because I think people don't necessarily know. I mean, people know there might be an issue, but they don't necessarily know that there might be a way to help with that issue, to help themselves again. So that would be a really good way of getting across those points really.
Okay. Well, Imogen,
in contact.
I've just shared Shauna's email in here at the request, so Sadie can get in touch. Am I okay to share your email in here?
Yes, I was going to get the inland access one as well, but yes, cool. You can. Yes, mine's quite public.
I'll put mine in as well, just in case. You never know. I'm just, desperately seeking some attention as well. So yeah, I'll put mine in. And any more questions, guys, as well? Or comments on the evening, whatever. It doesn't have to be a question, just
questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
The first one is, we spoke a bit in our group about the access, obviously the difference in access in Scotland. Do you find, or if you've had sort of dealings over there with that, do you find that actually, because there is access, that generally the population are much more positive around outdoor swimming in blue spaces, like natural water blue spaces, as opposed to over here where the government have such limitations, or landowners have such limitations, and actually that then makes people much more negative on the swimming side? Have you found that at all, maybe? Well, I think it's almost like if it was open access, it's sort of paving the way for it being okay, whereas there's so much material down here, isn't there, of it's dangerous, there's so many issues, and that's not to downplay, obviously, you have to obviously be environmentally literate and etc. But what are your thoughts?
Yes, I don't have a vast amount of experience of Scotland, but that is very much the point, is if your presumption, if the normal thing is that you have the access, that automatically, straight away you don't have to think, oh, can I? You already know you can. You've got your Scotland Outdoor Access Code, which tells you exactly how to be responsible. So you haven't got those barriers, exactly as you say, and you haven't got that whole mass of anti stuff. You just haven't got it. It's gone. I mean, it hasn't completely gone, but it's more or less gone. So you're starting from a point where, but maybe people do. Not everybody knows quite all the details about how to be safe or how to be responsible. But so you've got the opportunity to get those points across and just let people enjoy it. Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, that's what we need. That's what we need in England.
Exactly. I think it does change the mindset, doesn't it? If you have that sort of say so at your own risk, but yes, you can. I think that does change people's mindset a bit. But yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you. The next question was, it's a little bit personal to me because of my research, but do you have dealings with people that have sensory impairments who struggle with access as well, in particular visual impairments? Are you working with any groups, or do you know of individuals where in particular they've it's been a real problem, where the sort of ableist tendencies, I suppose, around?
Yeah, well, obviously there's practical and other difficulties with visual impairments. I've got a friend who's a swimmer who lives in the Midlands and can't go swimming as much as he'd like because he does have to rely on lifts. But you know, he's part of a local group and people support him. I mean, it's just one of the many issues of access and accessibility. It's a really important part of it, disabled access of all sorts. And perhaps it's, adds a complicated dimension, but it's all there, isn't it? And I think I said earlier, you know, if you're disabled and somebody's put up a fence when they didn't have a fence, straight away, you know, and same would be true with any access.
Okay, thank you.
Just let people know what I'm doing. I can't share all of the links you've sent me in one message, so I'm just doing them individually. So there's lots of documents that Imogen's kindly provided as references for people. I'm just popping them into the chat, so please do keep asking questions, guys, because I'm a terrible multitasker.
I think just carrying on with answering Sadie's question.
Right.
I had stopped, but I just thought, I've not answered it very fully, because I suppose one thing to bear in mind about the Inland Access group of the Outdoor Swimming Society, it's just a group of volunteers, as is the whole of the Outdoor Swimming Society. So in terms of what links we have with what people, our resources are quite limited for having all that. It's, you know, we just don't have the resources. We're all people who've got all our lives, and we just do as much voluntary work as we can fit in around that. So we don't act as an organisation in that way that you might be thinking, perhaps. But I think what we try and do is respond when people raise issues. So and we try and sort of encourage people to raise issues with us as well. And then, as I say, it's very much I forgot what the word for it is. But it's like a peer support type thing. Yes, peer support's the word for it, where we've got a group with, you know, a few thousand members, a lot of whom are quite interested and involved in access in their own area, and they'll have had experiences of different things. And you know, a problem comes up, and straight away half a dozen people say, "Oh yes, we had that, and we tried this, and you know, that was an issue that came up in our group or our area." And so it works quite well. And if for some reason there isn't somebody who comes up with something exactly right, then, you know, some of us will then do a bit of research into it and then try and share that. So it's very much a peer support rather than an organisation doing things and liaising with people, which is not a negative. It's actually positive, because it's very powerful, I think, to work.
I was going to say, I think that's probably the best way, isn't it? Because it's grassroots and you're really getting a feel of how everyone's feeling. And yeah, no, it's much better.
I've shared a lot of links in there about lots of things we've talked about. So with the swim safaris and treks, we didn't really touch on those too much, did we?
I don't remember now.
I don't think we did we? Didn't you do some stuff with young people?
You did ask me a bit about it. I did. I went to different counties each month. So some of the links are sort of factual ones, but most of them are. So basically, it's my website where I've documented those trips as best I could. It was quite busy, really. 4 days every month, it added up a bit, but it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So I wanted to share. That was the point, in a way, is to go to Essex, you know, see how different Essex was, which it was very different, because you had a lot of tidal complications before you could swim in most of it. Or another county has very different aspects, and try and share, and also meeting all those different swimming communities locally and different swimmers. So yes, I've shared that and documented that on my website. And then there's sort of factual things. I mean, so also the Outdoor Swimming Society has documented the kinder trespasses that we talked about earlier. And then there's what else is on there? and also the most recent campaign I'm involved in Norfolk. There's some posts about that. And then the last link is to this Outdoors for All campaign that's just got going, which is really exciting. Pam is part of that as well. And so yeah, that's what all that stuff is. So I think you can save the chat, can't you, if you're interested in following that sort of stuff up. You know, hopefully there's some interesting reading. I don't have as much time as I'd like to put stuff on my website or on the Outdoor Swimming Society website for that matter, because there's never enough time to do all the things you want to do. But I try and get some of the stuff on there as a resource. So factual resource, and then hopefully some interesting stories.
And did you do something with children, did you say, as well?
I didn't say that,
No,
but
yeah, I think I've read
that
something
in a separate area of my life, which is another voluntary thing I do, which is I'm running a couple of lottery funded projects in the Brex area, which is Norfolk and Suffolk. And they're coming to an end now, but one of the projects involved a lot of introductory sessions to adults and children and families and specific groups of people with additional needs and different youth groups and so on. And I think we've now introduced about 700 people to outdoor swimming. So basically we do introductory sessions to outdoor swimming. About 700 have come so far, and also some more detailed ones about life saving and stuff. And it's very much we have it all organized with lifeguards and so on, so it gives people that extra security if they've never done it before. And then, but at the same time, we arm people with information so that they can understand how to keep themselves safe. So we don't want people to assume they can always have to have a lifeguard, but to have that just as their initial introduction. And then they can go off and use the resources we give them and the information we give them. And, you know, having had that opportunity, people have really gone off and flourished and taken up swimming, and some of them have then become volunteers in the project. So yeah, a lot of children involved in that. It's been really wonderful to do that. So that's a separate thing, but it is related, because it is part of access, really. You know, is empowering people with that little bit of confidence and that little bit of knowledge.
Yeah.
Another way to help with access, because they then feel they can access the water, and then you know, everything flows from that.
Yeah. No, that sounds incredible. Any more questions, guys?
I was going to say, what's the name of that charity that you just mentioned, the last one? That sounds so interesting. I'd really like to have a look.
What the project I've been involved in? It's called
it's
if you go on my website, it's OS Brex. It's the whole thing is a scheme of 24 projects that are funded by the lottery. They're coming to the end of next year. We've got one more event in that particular project, and yeah, so you can read about it on there. If you look at one of the links, that's Imogen's River Swims, and then OS Brex. I think it says. I'll just check. Just check what it says.
So it sounds absolutely amazing.
If you go for the menu OS Brex and then you scroll down there, it's actually called Healing Waters. The project has a variety of other things as well, walking and all sorts of other activities, but I'm managing the bit that's to do with outdoor swimming. And yeah, you can see some detail there. You can see pictures of the events and some more detail. It works very well. I mean, you need some money to do it, but not a vast amount. It's not massively expensive, but you sort of, if you're going to do it with the safety cover and so on, you know, you have insurance, you have to pay lifeguards, a few other things like that. It's not massively expensive, but so, you know, it's manageable.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, I think it's been like an incredible evening, guys, and stuff, really. I've loved listening to it, to everything. If anything, Imogen, sometimes I want to know more about your life and stuff like that, but we can't fit it all in with these chats. So it's been really good, really inspiring. Just a little bit of information on what next in terms of these chats. We've got, well, a bit humbled to have the charity. I didn't mention it earlier because I knew I was going to mention it at the end. Is based on a book called The Blue Mind. I don't know if anyone's heard of the book The Blue Mind. So our next guest will be Wallace J. Nichols, the author of The Blue Mind. And yeah, it's really nice that he sort of approached us indirectly to get in touch about some work they're doing to try and reach 8 million people worldwide about the Blue Mind and the principles behind it. He's agreed to come on and just tell us about his life and what he's up to at the moment. So that'll be fantastic next. I don't know where he'll be in the world because he's always flying somewhere. But if you haven't seen Wallace J. Nichols, at the moment he's doing his book club, which he does annually, where he reads from the Blue Mind. I find it really quite cathartic, like listening to him read a chapter of his own book. I don't listen every day, but it's really nice. If you catch him live, you can drop little messages in and he responds and all that kind of stuff. So he definitely puts his heart and soul into some of the stuff that we're doing today. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting him in front of a room full of people, I presume, unless I get to meet him before. So he's coming on next. And then after that, we've got a lady called Emma Hazel, who lives on Iona, the island in Scotland. She's an author as well, but she does bookbinding, but she's quite big on Instagram. She does a different changing room every day when she goes for a swim. And she takes these really quite artistic photos, but she travels all over the world doing creative writing and bookbinding. And she lives on the island of Iona, and she splits her time between there and Edinburgh galleries and things like that. So I think she's going to be a really nice guest, and more details will come online about that. And then we'll have one more guest slot, which we're thinking is going to be something around recycling. It's going to be pulling a few people together, hopefully, about taking plastic out of the water and creating stuff with it and all that kind of stuff about cleaning up the river source. It feels like a nice flow that to talk to lots of people about connecting people with the water, and in the hope that they want to look after it. And we end with something that's really tangible about like looking after the water and stuff. So that's what we're hoping to do, really. So yeah, but unless anyone's got any final questions or anything like that, I think we'll end it there. But yeah, thanks very much for attending, guys. It's wonderful that you've come along, and I hope you've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Scott and Imogen.
Thank
That's brilliant.
you. It's great to meet everyone. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
Cheers.
Christmas.
Ciao.
Merry Christmas,
And
guys.
you. Have a blessed time.